Hi everyone, my name is Nurul Hazani binti Macc and my matric number is 2023 185017. I'm going to start the presentation with introduction of ethics and definition of professional ethics. Ethics is a branch of philosophy concerned with the study of moral principle and action. Morality is concerned with the practice and activities that are considered right or wrong. It is also concerned with the value those practices reflect and the rules through which are carried out. In a nutshell, it is understood that ethics related to morality or conduct of a person, which is provides some sort of guidelines on how to control one from violating any laws, rules and regulations, written or unwritten, provided within a given society. Ethics is a practical in nature where it can see in behavior of a person. However, it is not necessary that all well-behaved people are ethical. Some philosophers claim that would be irrational for someone to refrain from acting morally righteous when they are aware that doing so would be right. However, people frequently behave impulsively and follow their gut's instinct despite their heads telling them to do something else. However, ethics does provide helpful tools for thinking about moral dilemmas. For instance, Immanuel Kant thought that ideal behavior was acting in accordance with one's duty and that well-being means having the freedom to exercise autonomy, which is self-determination, not being used as a means to an end, it being treated with dignity and having the capacity to think rationally. Aristotle, on the other hand, thought that ideal behavior were practices that lead to the end goal of the high level of happiness or well-being. Some ethicists use the phrase doing ethics, referring to the fact that ethics is a dynamic process rather than a fixed attribute. Even if people think that ethics is entirely subjective, they must be able to defend their viewpoints using logical, theoretically based arguments. This is because when people engage in ethical behavior, they need to be able to back up their claims with good reasoning. Feelings and emotion are the natural aspect of daily life that can have a legitimate place to upholding moral principle. However, people occasionally allow their emotion to take precedence over some judgmental. And when this happens, it does not give a strong foundation to decision intending to ethics. Definition of ethics. Ethics is a term that refers to the study of morality and human behavior. The Greek word ethos, which denotes the distinctive way a culture or a person acts, can be used to acquire it. The concept of ethics in philosophy refers to information about behavior or a person's perspective when engaging in any activity. Humans are reflected in all they do, whether it is right or wrong. In order to arrive at a value, philosophers most usually use rational analysis. As a result, ethics become arbitrary and subjective to the point that it lacks of moral purpose or is incompatible with other values. The right decision can be made by using ethics. In situations when following moral principles can help resolve problematic situations, it is crucial to establish without a shadow of a doubt that everyone acts morally. People have unique personality and behavior that may seem acceptable to them but are unacceptable to those around them. Additionally, ethics can be ensured that people make decisions honorably, rationally, and systematically, without giving any consideration to their preference or feelings on the topics they are discussing. In order to make a tough choice, especially one that may have an impact on others, people can reason logically when using ethics. In an ethical paradigm, acting morally is usually always the right thing to do. It embodies ethical excellence in a practical way. Numerous philosophers that atheistic have described the various ethical perspectives and implications. Three approaches to ethics are distinguished: the base ratio approach, the black and white approach, and the full potential approach. For instance, according to Jack P. Kerouac's writing, morality or ethics primarily deals with human interaction and how individuals treat one another in order to promote the welfare, development, innovation, and meanings of living things as they are strive to uphold good over evil and right over wrong. Ethics is often referred to as the center of the purpose and will that has been followed in Europe. Ethics are connected with a framework with morality, ethics, and fundamental quality. Morals from both society and people's private life are used to build ethics.
MACC is independent authoritative body that is established to combat corruption and promote integrity in the country. The commission is charged of investigating and prosecuting corruption offence committed by the public officials or public administrations. MACC mission is to eliminate corruptions, to promote good governance, and to promote the transparency, accountability in any sector.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Azmi bin Hamdan. My matric number is 20233876617. So the reason why I'm standing here to present to you guys about the function of MACC. MACC, or Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, or well known as SPRM, is one of the organisation or sole body that manage case related to corruption. The function of this MACC is to eradicate corruption, to fight against the abuse of power and also malpractice in Malaysia. There were also 5 bodies that have been created inside this organisation that work to monitor the job being done by the MACC. So these 5 bodies were represented by the senior as government official, politician, academician, lawyers and also public figures. The 5 body is Anti-Corruption Advisory Board, ACAB, Special Committee on Corruption, SCC, Complaints Committee, CC, Operation Review Panel, ORP, and lastly Consultation and Corruption Review Panel, CCPP. So there were also the principal outline that being introduced by the ministerial guideline. This principal outline have been created to describe the step and also action that the company will be taken to fight against the corruption. The principal outline is trust, TRUST. So T is for the top level commitment, R is for risk assessment, U is undertake control measure, S is for systemic reviewing, monitoring and also enforcement, and lastly T is for training and also communication. This principle also used to emphasize the requirement for procedure to be set up by the company to deal with the risk assessment, review, control measure and also training. And that's all for function. Thank you.
Next, for the roles of MACC is to receive and consider any report of the commission and investigate it. This allows them to detect and investigate any suspect that are committed or attempted to commit any offence under Act 2009. Also, this body also works as an instructor and also assister to any person who has the vision to fight against corruption. Next, to create a better society from corruption, MACC started the application of Section 17A of the MACC Act 2009 on 1 June 2020. This provision stipulates that a corporate liability principle, where a commercial organisation can be considered as guilty if one of the employees or associates commits corruption for the benefit of the organisation. The commercial organisation is also considered guilty if they know about the corruption but they don't lodge any report about it. Besides, they also works to educate the public against corruption, such as the anti-corruption campaign that has been held in Malacca with the attendance of Deputy Chief Commissioner Prevention, Datuk Seri Nur Razlan Muhammad Razali, with the purpose of to highlight anti-corruption elements to the community. Lastly, MACC also works on to enlist and foster public support against corruption. They establish a cooperation with Malaysia Communication and Multimedia Commissioner, MCMC, to gather information on doing investigation against any corruptor or suspect that committing or attempting to commit corruption.
Members of MACC are based on their code of ethics to carry out their duties effectively. Their goals is to ensure that MACC officers are hold on to integrity, fairness and transparency, to prevent corruption and uphold the law. They are also upheld by the MACC value, which are trustworthy, firmness, fairness, independency, transparency, and professionalism. For the problem, firstly, MCC influenced by the political instability. Why? This is because the federal government involved in the organization activities. The impacts on MECC, its organization will be having the cronyism culture, which will be causing the instability of the organization itself. For example, the statement made by the Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin stated that MECC was trying to divert people's attentions away from the nepotism issues due to the government weakness, which is new government PHMBN. As for the next problem, Internet Authority corruptions amongst organizations, MECC itself betrayed their credibility by accepting bribes which are clearly against their codes of ethics. For example, charges on last May that MACC officer and a businessman known as Datuk Roy was brought on 2 charges of soliciting and accepting bribes amounts 640,000 to help release of the former Prime Minister son Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, so that would not be remanded by the MACC. For the solution, in humble opinion, the government should refrain from interfering in any matters pertaining to MACC. This is because it's only unequivocal measure, or so that no mistake that can be effective or eliminate the possibility of cronyism or other political agendas that may jeopardize the organization's integrity and efficiency.
Hi, for my part, I'm going to talk about application of professional ethics used in MACC. Malaysian Public Administration, including the MACC, Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, is intended to follow professional ethics in order to promote good governance, accountability and public service integrity. One key aspect of professional ethics is in the context of the MACC is integrity and impartiality. MACC officers must conduct unbiased investigations that are not swayed by external influences or personal interests. They must also maintain a high level of professionalism, transparency and responsibility at all times. Another critical factor is the safeguarding of human rights. MACC should not discriminate on any basis and should treat all people fairly and with respect. In addition, MACC officers should maintain confidentiality and privacy in all their investigations. They should respect the privacy of individuals and not disclose sensitive information unless it is necessary for the purpose of their investigation. Professional in dealing with stakeholders is also an important of MACC ethics. Officers must communicate effectively and clearly with their public, stakeholders and other agencies. In conclusion, the application of professional ethics in the MACC helps to ensure that MACC officers act with the highest standard of professionalism, impartiality, fairness and respect for human rights while keeping the trust and confidence of the public.
Okay, next for the conclusion, it can be concluded that the professional ethics exist from within an individual with the assistance of complete discipline and strength. So every individual have this professional ethics, but to bring But to bring it out, they must have a disciplined lifestyle in order to become a good MACC officer. Thus, every officer in Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC must carry out their duties with professional ethics to perform an exceptional and excellent performance as they should, because the more they uphold the code of ethics during their duties, the more problems they can avoid to prevent any problems, and the more they can prevent any corruption that will happen. Next, they must have an effort to strengthen the values of professional ethics, such as the integrity. This is for what? The purpose is to create a better organization. This effort requires the commitment of all parties, such as officers, staff, and organization themselves, by following all the rules and regulation that has been set up for them to follow. And finally, to become a good public servant, they must carry out their best practice with professional ethics during their works, so that they can avoid any problems that will arising in the future. So that's all from our group presentation.